Hi everyone, welcome to the Comic Book Corner, and this is your host, Spider Slayer. Tonight we're going to do a episode review of the Walking Dead TV series, episode number 4. Just got done watching it myself, and there wasn't a whole lot of action going on in this particular episode. It seems like the group is at a calm, but there was a lot of similarities into this point of the TV show and the comic book, and I kind of wanted to go through some of the differences and some of the things that went on in this episode in case some of you can't watch it or whatnot. First off, where we last left off in last week's episode was that Shane just got done shaving his head because he went through a great ordeal killing Otis, to save himself from the zombies. And you can see that he kind of got bit, or not bit, but he got his hair grabbed, and he's just trying to shave his head off. I don't know, to cover it up or whatnot, but you can see that he's having a little bit of struggle going on in his life here of handling the death of Otis because he had to do what he had to do to survive. In the beginning of this episode, we witnessed that Carl wakes up and he's getting better. He has stabilized. His fever has broken, and next thing we know is that they're doing kind of like a burial for Otis, and Shane is speaking in the behalf of Otis, and the family kind of wants to know like what happened, and Shane's kind of telling his side of the story, saying, I'll take care of it, go, and I'll stay behind, and you can see as Shane is telling the story that you see flashbacks of what he did to Otis. And now this is good for a viewer that may have missed last week's episode, because it kind of shows you what happened, so you have a chance to catch up. So the next thing we see later on in the story is that the group has decided to, they needed to go into town and to get supplies. And of course, Glenn is volunteered not only to do that, but to actually go down a well for a flesh-eating zombie, because basically they need water, the group, and they're trying to get this zombie out of the well so he doesn't contaminate the water. And this is before Glenn goes into town. So this is kind of like my favorite part of the show. So I'm going to show you the clip, because this is the favorite part of the show again, and I loved it. So in case some of you haven't seen it, this is the greatest part of the particular episode. So here we go.
Come on, y'all, together. Come on, pull. Keep it calm. Come on, pull. Watch out, dog. That's me. Just a little more. Come on. Almost there. You gotta pull it, dog. Good stuff. Come on.
Oh, how awesome was that? That was just disgusting, but it was so cool at the same time. That was like a sick part right there. It was awesome. Literally, I hate to say that, but that was kind of all the zombie action in the actual episode. And but it was a good one, and it was kind of funny. I like how T-Dog just kind of smashed his head in. But if you noticed, Maggie took it very hard on T-Dog when he smashed that zombie's face in. Now, I don't know if everybody, read the comics, but we all kind of knows what happens if you're a comic book fan and you read the series on what this farm is really about, and why Herschel is having such reserve about having Rick and the group stay on the property. Because what is he really hiding? What is he actually hiding in this farm that he doesn't want Rick to know about? So if this stays true to the comic, this particular story plot right here, I have an idea of what's going on, and it already started at the well. So all you other guys who know what I'm talking about, I don't want to give it away for all the other people that don't read the comic, but let's see if it stays true to that aspect of it. In the meantime, Daryl is still searching for Sophia. We still haven't come across her yet. Storyline's still going through with that. At this point, I'm not sure if we'll find her or if they will find her or not. So we'll see what happens. So once the whole zombie thing in the well is taken care of, and that well is obviously now contaminated with some nasty ass water. We see that Andrea and Shane are talking, and he's kind of, telling her that he's the one that killed Otis in a roundabout way, and how he's dealing with switching on and switching off on what you have to do in order to survive. So I think she kind of understood the whole thing. Next, we realized that before Glenn and Maggie go into town, Lori is asking Glenn for a particular feminine device or need or care or whatever you want to call it, and it's very private. And again, if you're a fan of the comic, you'll know what's going on at this point. So later on, we go on, and Glenn and Maggie are actually going into town and getting some supplies, and they split up and they go and they get their stuff, and then all of a sudden Maggie snags Glenn and getting some condoms on accident because he's trying to hide what he's getting for Lori, and it was kind of a funny scene. You don't see too much funny scenes in this series, but it was kind of funny. And you can see that Glenn is all, embarrassed by the whole thing, and just kind of like the comic, she's like, "Oh, I'll have sex with you," and he's kind of like shocked by the whole thing, and here we are, just like the comic. In this particular point, is Glenn and Maggie's relationship starts off this way. And as they head back into town, Maggie's like, "Oh, it's just a one-time thing," and Glenn's all giddy and things like that because he just got some. So it was pretty good to see that. Next thing we see is that again, Rick is asking Herschel to consider to stay on the farm, and he's saying that he might consider it, and we'll see what happens with that if he lets them stay. Again, he's hiding something, and I know he's hiding something, and that's why he has such reserve about the whole thing. Next thing, we see that Daryl is unsuccessful about getting Sophia, but he gives a nice gesture about the rose and the Cherokee rose and what it represents, and it represents her child is missing, and the rose blooms because of that. So it was kind of a touching moment there. And last but not least, going in towards the end of the episode, we see that Glenn hands Lori what she asked for, and it was a pregnancy test. And we see her, Lori, going out into the fields, and she takes the test. And yes, folks, we find out that she is pregnant. The test was positive, and you can see she has a look of horror on her face. And last but not least, looking like in next week's episode, we are going to see this guy right here come back. That's right. Look who's back. I forgot the guy's name. I don't remember. But it's the guy that had to cut off his arm, Daryl's brother, to escape so he didn't get attacked by the zombies. That, I cannot wait to see what he's going to do, what's going to happen. Did he kidnap Sophia? Like, what's going to happen with that? So it opens up a whole new can of worms, and I think the season is just going to start to take off now. I think we're kind of at a low. It's the 4th episode. We're heading towards the middle, and I think things are going to start escalate slowly now and really start picking up. So out of this episode, story-wise, I give it a 5 out of 5. Action, there wasn't really any action, so I give that part of it like a 3 out of 5. So I give this particular episode, 4.0 out of 5. Good story. I always like the action involved. It keeps me going. But I like how, again, the comic and the show are kind of going in two different ways. It's like almost like if it was a Marvel comic and you sit there and you see, it's like, what if Shane lived? That's kind of like what the Walking Dead TV series is for me, because it just branches off in a whole totally different direction from when the comic is, and yet you keep a lot of the other aspects of the story the same. So that's all I have to say about that. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope a lot of you watched the show. And if you haven't read the book, the comic book, I suggest you guys read the comic book because it's, again, is very, very good. And vice versa. It's like you get to see how the comic deters from the actual show. So again, pick it up. So until the next comic book review, and I will see you guys soon. This is Spider Slayer saying see ya and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.